Yo, what's going on, guys? We are here with third year of doing what to expect from the Indiana Pacers this season. I want to hear, before we continues this video, your thoughts down below. What will be the Indiana Pacers record? Who do you think will be the best player not named Tyrese Haliburton? Because we all know he's a superstar on the rise. And yeah, record. Who do you think is the best player besides Tyrese Haliburton? And third, any expectations from this team? And let's get right into it. We just hit 8,000. We're on the way to 10,000. Like and subscribe for 150 videos a month regarding every facet of the NBA. Let's get right into it. So I want to tell you guys the full roster and who's on two ways. Kendall Brown's the only guy on a two-way. So they do have some guys fighting for two ways, arguably. And, you know, it is an interesting roster. Let me tell you. Goga, O'Shea Brissett, Kendall Brown, Chris Duarte, Langston Galloway, Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, Isaiah Jackson, James Johnson, Benedict Mathurin, TJ McConnell, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith. I'm going to say this guy's name terrible. He was on Detroit for a few years. He's from Lithuania. Dividas Servidas. Tell me down below how to correctly say that. Lithuanian sharpshooter, by the way. He's like 6'8". Jalen Stick Smith. Love him. Think he's going to be, like, arguably, I honestly think Stick Smith is going to, like, really show his place this year. Terry Taylor, Daniel Tice, and Myles Turner. And now with the current roster, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right. So right now they would, if they put one guy on a two-way, that would leave them with two guys over the amount of, they can only have 15 guys on standard contracts and two guys on two ways, which means they technically can have 17 players. Currently, they're at 18. So with one already on a two-way, so they're at 17. Then another guy's going to get on a two-way, which leaves them at 16. So somebody's technically going to get cut. If I had to put money, I think Dividas is going to be the other two-way guy, and I think, Langston Galloway is going to get cut. I'd rather have James Johnson be the vet in the room. That's just me. I think James Johnson and Langston Galloway are fighting for a roster spot. Now, the main question with this team is, what's with Myles Turner? Myles Turner says he wants to finally prove his offensive capabilities now that he's finally going to be not playing with Domantas Sabonis. And what's going to go on with Myles Turner? Turner saw this team try to get Deandre Ayton this summer, and obviously he's heading into the final year of his contract, saying he wants to play it out. And Kevin Pritchard is trying to move him for assets before the trade deadline, and maybe even earlier. And the Pacers are hoping, to find a deal. And we thought he was going to go to LA until LA pulled back because they didn't want to include a second first-round pick. Obviously, there's a huge risk, of course, especially Turner, if he gets injured, but it's pretty clear that neither side is interested in signing an extension for him to stay in Indianapolis. And this is a franchise that is in a full rebuild mode while Turner's just entering his prime, and obviously he's on a different timeline. So they're definitely trying to get something in return for him. Now, for me, I think the starting lineup for next year, if the players that are currently on the team are going to be on the team, I think it's Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, Chris Duarte, either Jalen Smith or O'Shea Brissett. I'm biased. I want to put Jalen Smith in the starting lineup next to Turner because I like the idea of Turner, Jalen Smith, Chris Duarte, Buddy Hield, and Tyrese Haliburton. And then off the bench, you probably have TJ McConnell, Benedict Mathurin. And that's where it starts to get interesting, because I don't know if necessarily this is how you want to line this up. And I think I like this team. Don't get me wrong. I think they're also Justin Anderson's on this team and Norvel Pele. I forgot to include that. And with that being said, and Boat Wright's also on the team, but I don't think Norvel Pele, Boat Wright, and Justin Anderson are going to make the team. I think those are training camp bodies. Same thing with David Stockton. So for me, I think if we just do by each position, I think at center position, the rotation will be Myles Turner, Goga, Isaiah Jackson. I think they have a lot of centers, and this is why, I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Tice gets cut, because I think they want to see what Goga is, want to see what Isaiah Jackson is. I think they see Jalen, Stick Smith as a guy who can play power forward and center, and I want them to start, Stick Smith at power forward, have him backed up by O'Shea, and then third power forward be James Johnson, while Turner's backed up by Isaiah Jackson, Goga, and Daniel Tice, and then, Stick Smith can play some center if they need him to. But O'Shea, Brissett, backing up Stick Smith, and then James Johnson. Then you go over to small forward. I want Chris Duarte to start there, backed up by Terry Taylor, and then Aaron Nesmith. And then you go over Buddy Hield, probably backed up by a little bit of, probably backed up by Benedict Mathurin. And then I don't know who would be your third, shooting guard. I guess it would be Aaron Nesmith or Gabe York. And Gabe York is another guy who could get cut, but or Andrew Nembhard. But Tyrese Haliburton, TJ McConnell, and Andrew Nembhard are the three guys. I want to really know who's going to be the sixth man. I think Jalen Smith should be the starter. If he's not starting, I think he's the sixth man. But for me, if Benedict Mathurin's coming off the bench or Chris Duarte, I think Chris Duarte, Buddy Hield, and Tyrese are three starters, and Myles Turner. I think the only position that there's a question on if someone's going to start is at the 4, because there's a lot of guys who go. I think the best one is Stick Smith. You paid him. I mean, you didn't pay him like a shit ton of money, but you paid him, okay? And I think he's someone that at this point we should start. And yeah, I think this is right now. I apologize. They're at like 20 players, so they're gonna have to cut. I think Norvell Pelle gets cut. Bo Wright gets cut. Justin Anderson could push James Johnson, but I don't know if Gabe York makes the team, but Gabe York could be on the cutting block. Same thing with Langston Galloway. Like most of the older, I think this is a team full on rebuild. I do think the center position we could see a surprise cut, but yeah, they might be going into the season with 4 centers: Turner, Tice, Jackson, and Goga. And then at power forward, I hope the rotations Brissett, Jalen Smith, and James Johnson. I wouldn't mind if James Johnson get cuts for Justin Anderson, but and it's definitely interesting as all hell. And people forget that like this past year, Justin Anderson, he played. I mean, wasn't beautiful, but he came in for a few games and he showed some value for them. And expectations for this team. I don't think they're the worst rebuilding team. I think the Thunder and the Rockets are worse than them. What I think about this team is I definitely see them like being the 7th or the 8th pick. I think this team is going to be, if everything, because they have Tyrese Haliburton, they're going to be getting out of their rebuild a lot sooner than other teams. Like, I'm generally not as concerned about this team rebuilding as I am per se. I think the Rockets are also further, but you know what I mean? Like the Rockets and the Pacers, I think they both have their stud. I don't know. I just feel like the Thunders are so discombobulated with their rebuild. And I know some people aren't going to agree with that, but that's where I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think of this? And who's been your favorite player? Who do you think is going to be? I think Benedict Mathurin is going to have a freaking year. I think he's going to shock a lot of people. But yeah, I see this team finishing, with like the 7th or 8th pick in the draft. So probably being like the 11th. Probably like the 12th seed. Yeah, 12th. I think that's a good. Especially if Myles Turner really goes off. Like, I could see this team being way better because just having Tyrese Haliburton and Myles Turner on the team for the season could make like that much of an impact.